just so proud of how you are being a role model for dealing with a child that's transgender.
Absolutely.
And that's, that warms my heart, particularly as a Black man. Would you care to share that journey of?
Okay, this one is one of those analyses that you have asked me, like, I absolutely need to clear this up. All right, like, what did Michelle Obama just say? Did she just say that as a Black man, like she was referring to herself as a Black man? So let's clear this up, both from a statement and body language analysis. But I need to get this out of my chest. I mean, why do you make me watch Michelle Obama's podcast? I mean, I think that is great for that she gets some views because of this. I don't know if this was on purpose. Maybe she had to make this a grand announcement, like a bit of offhand, like maybe it was slip up. Maybe this was some other explanation, which we will expose in a minute. But the real problem here is actually watching Michelle Obama's podcast, because it is full of gems like this one. As in, Megyn Kelly was saying that Megyn Kelly slams Michelle Obama for constantly complaining about her life, and this is something that she's been doing for some time. Because we need to see the bigger picture, the context of what she was talking in that clip. And that has to do with the way that she addresses everything, not only on her podcasts, but on other interviews. Starting from this, she never says anything positive. It is all complaints. She goes on another podcast and actually found a way to moan about how hard it is to live in the White House. And I thought that this was fake, but no, this is not AI. This is an actual thing.
It's expensive to live in the White House. As many people don't know. I mean, much is not covered. You're paying for every bit of food that you eat. You're not paying for housing and the staff in it. But everything, even travel, if you're not traveling with the president, if your kids are coming on a Bright Star, which is the First Lady's plane, we had to pay for their travel to be on the plane. It is an expensive proposition, and you're running for 2 years and not earning an income.
Do you really think, do you honestly think, okay, regardless of what she says, because what she says appears to be true, I found out, yes, Michelle Obama has publicly stated that living in the White House is expensive, and they are responsible for many personal expenses, like many first families. These include all their own food and groceries, travel costs for family members not on official presidential trips, personal staff like trainers or stylists. Well, that makes sense, right? Designer clothing makes sense as well. Dry cleaning, vacation expenses, and personal gifts. Well, yeah, that also makes sense. She has mentioned in interviews and her memoir that the family received bills for every meal and grocery item, sometimes joking about the high costs, such as referencing a $500 peach. But that is quite a peach. Where did you get that peach? Is that Whole Foods peach? This practice is not unique to the Obamas. It's a standard for all first families. So what are you complaining about? Her comments have sparked some backlash, a lot of backlash. The critics pointed out the Obamas' considerable wealth and the presidential salary, questioning whether these expenses are truly a hardship. No, this is like an investment, and everybody knows it. It's like you become the president of the United States. You already made it. You will have these contracts, books, and everything. This lifestyle. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Let's stop pretending that is not gonna happen. And especially, let's stop with the BS, going on interviews and saying, "Oh, that was so expensive." And how is your life right now, Michelle? Thanks to having survived the expensiveness of the White House? It is my question. Oh yeah, so such a victim. And from the victimhood is part of the context. That victimhood is part of the context that we are talking about. Also, like this. Michelle Obama lives a lifestyle that would make some European monarchs blush, but she has to complain again like this. I don't doubt she's profoundly unhappy, says Chadwick Moore. Like many aimless rich people, maybe she needs to realize her misery is a choice and not the fault of some nebulous race conspiracy. And the race conspiracy, of course, has to do with it because it's also all the time women or men, black women, black men. And she is speaking like this in her podcast. This is her actual podcast. Thank you for making me watch this.
We don't articulate as Black women our pain because it's almost like nobody ever gave us permission to do that.
It's like she just said that black women haven't had the permission to articulate their pains. Man, I know. I think the opposite. I think that black women have been able to, articulate it in a very loud way and every opportunity possible. I think that is, it's like if you live in America, you are not like constrained by that. The First Amendment still applies to you, even if you are a black woman or man.
To do that.
And does anyone care?
Yeah, there's
Will
that.
they care?
There's that
we
part.
knew, I think we would care.
It's her brother, right? Yeah, he's speaking as a man in behalf of women, of black women who haven't been able to express their feeling. That's the thing that I find it sort of complicated at times follow what they say because it's all this race baiting and it's so convoluted. It is all this word salad that has no like nothing of substance, and that's why her podcast hasn't taken off yet, even if it's Michelle Obama.
If we knew.
Mm-hmm.
If we knew.
Or, yeah, and we have to ask ourselves, the men in our lives is, why wait to be asked?
No, I don't think that you wait to be asked. You are lying. You are lying.
It seems like what we go through is pretty obvious. I mean, maybe we're not complaining, but we're actually living life out loud,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's more than enough. But it's time to address the clip that brought us here. But immediately after addressing this clip, I need to post another clip, a different clip, that for me is the actual threat that Michelle Obama represents for the United States. Yeah, well, the Obamas in general, but we're talking about Michelle. I don't want to include Barry because, she might get upset and maybe she will openly complain, because she can complain about that. But after this clip, I need to talk about the actual threat. So you're raising a trans kid. She was talking to one of the Wayans. I think it was Marlon Wayans. He was one of the directors, creators of a scary movie. You remember the Wayans, and there's one of my favorite movies, White Chicks. And it so happens that Marlon is raising a trans kid. Something that is very trendy in Hollywood nowadays. If you're in Hollywood, you're working in Hollywood, and you don't have a trans kid, what are you doing with your life? I mean, what is that? So Michelle was saying that, and she said this word. This is the complete whole clip, so we give this justice.
I wanted to talk, Marlon, a bit about, just so proud of how you are being a role model for dealing with a child that's transgender.
Yep.
Okay, so far so good. She's talking to Marlon Wayans about the challenges of raising a kid that's transgender, which I already have dedicated some videos about that insanity, but here are the words.
And that's, that warms my heart, particularly as a Black man. Would you care to share that journey of?
Now, this is the issue here. This is the issue here. And some of you, I'm pretty sure that roughly 50% of you are rushing to the comments right now and saying, no, as a black man, she was referring to Marlon. As a black man, I want your opinion as a black man. As in, that's why I told you that this was important to have this context from the victimhood, because it is not only that Marlon Wayans is raising a transgender kid. It's not only that. It's also, we need to talk about that he is a black man raising a transgender kid. Oh, this is like level of difficulty, like 9,000 or something. So I'm going to replay the clip. And the problem is that when Michelle says, as a black man, those words sounds like more attached to when she's talking about herself than when she's talking about Marlon. The context of the words makes sense that she's talking about Marlon, but let's listen to it again.
And that's, that warms my heart.
That warms my heart. She's talking about herself. She makes the gesture of hand on heart.
Particularly as a black man.
You can say, okay, you heard the whole clip. I'm going to play only this short clip. So you sense that it's like a complete sentence. It's a full sentence. And then it's like she corrects curse talking about Marlon.
And that's, that warms my heart, particularly as a black man. Would you care to?
That she makes this pause and stutters a bit. She says, it warms my heart, particularly as a black man. And then she begins to stutter. And then she continues to ask him, care to share that journey of?
Share that journey of.
Well,
and that's when he interrupts. I don't know if this was part of editing. We could never know. That sometimes they record this podcast and we could never know if they try to, make this more fluent. But it sounded really bad. This sounded really bad. Again, there are websites that are trying to do some kind of damage control. I'm going to read the words aloud myself, all the words that Michelle Obama said, so we can, let's say, analyze the text. Well, speaking of parenting, I wanted to talk, Marlon, a bit about, just so proud of how you are being a role model for dealing with a child that's transgender. And that's, that warms my heart. Particularly as a black man, would you care to share that journey? So, again, it's particularly as a black man, it's so ambiguous how it could be attached to what she says, talking about herself, and attached to Marlon, which is a black man, I guess. It's the thing that still can have that, I would say, confusion. I would say that the context or the text itself refers to Marlon Wayans, but the way that it flows so smoothly from she talking about herself.
And that's, that warms my heart, particularly as a black man.
That's why people are saying, was this a slip of the mind? Was Joan Rivers right? What are we looking at? But let's be honest for a second. Let's be honest for a second. I don't think that is the biggest threat or news or the thing that we should be covering about Michelle Obama. The biggest question is why, or the biggest threat, I use the word threat because this is an actual threat, is that she still has a big platform and she still uses that platform to race bait and rage bait. And I think this is really dangerous for society. And she said at some point, this clip in which she says that, Trump's deportations keep her up at night, in which that Barack Obama deported 5.3 million people and Trump has deported only 100 of them so far. And this is the thing that I think that we should be talking about. The way that she says this.
Well, in this current climate for me, it's, what's happening to immigrants.
Oh, what happens to immigrants? You remember what happens to immigrants during your husband's, presidential terms? Huh?
So it's not the fear for myself anymore. I drive around in a 4-car motorcade with a police escort. I'm Michelle Obama.
Well, at least she was not complaining about that.
My fears are for what I know is happening out there in streets all over the city.
Notice that she begins to say that streets all over the city. She is going to plant an idea that's something that is happening everywhere. Notice this.
And now that we have leadership that is sort of indiscriminately determining who belongs and who doesn't.
Who belongs and who doesn't. That is a very, emotional way of framing who is illegal and who is not. Who enter the country through a port of entry in a legal way and who enter in an illegal and criminal way. Who belongs and who doesn't. That's why I tell you, that's so important to listen to people's words, the words that they choose to speak.
And we know that those decisions aren't being made with courts and with due process and
again, the due process, because that's the thing that Democrats are going to repeat over and over again. Did this have due process? This is why I tell you that regardless of if Michelle has a slip of the mind or slip of the tongue or whatever it's called, how she uses her platforms, her interviews is much worse. But we haven't arrived at the worst part yet. It gets much worse.
That it's being made like this cop that pulled my brother over when he was 12.
Right. And when did that happen? Because your brother looks quite old by now. How long did that happen? How long ago did that happen?
You don't look like somebody that belongs.
All right. So again, it's comparing that racism, being xenophobic. It's like, oh, you are treating people like they don't belong to the United States.
And knowing that there's so much bias and so much racism and so much ignorance that fuels those kind of choices.
Again, pushing for racism and bias like it exists and not the law that her husband upheld when he was president.
I worry for people of color all over this country. And I don't know that we will have the advocates to protect everybody. And that frightens me.
It's just really hypocritical. I mean, I just made a video for my Power Pundit channel about Ilhan Omar, and like she's the greatest hypocrite in the world. But it's like all these Democrats are competing. AOC, Bernie Sanders, Ilhan Omar, Michelle. It's who else? Gavin Newsom. It's a competition to the bottom.
It keeps me up at night, and I know that I see that when I'm driving around LA. I'm just looking in the faces of folks who could be victim, and I'm wondering.
Yeah, anyone could be a victim just because of your color, right?
How are you feeling? How do you feel standing on the bus stop? How do you feel comfortable going to work, going to school, when you know that there could be people out here judging you and who could upend your life in a second?
Isn't this like making people paranoid about? It's like literally making people paranoid about their lives just because of the way they look. Because there are other people that don't think that they belong.
That's who I worry for, right?
That is the thing that we should be talking about. That is the thing that we should be talking about. But again, that way that she phrased that, particularly as a man, I can understand how people are up in arms over this because, well, we all remember that Joan Rivers video. We all remember Joan Rivers. And, well, I would really like to know, what do you think about those words in the comments? Remember to download my free 100 body language tips right in the description of this video. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy. Much love and bliss.